Hey everyone, welcome back. So, are you somebody who feels like they suck at meditation? Are you one of those people who tried to meditate, sat down, couldn't silence your mind at all, got frustrated, and stopped meditating, even though you know that all the science says that meditation is really good for you, really healthy for you, helps you rewire your brain just like psychedelics do, is good for your stress levels, is good for all your relationships and your centeredness and your calmness and all these wonderful benefits. You know the science, and yet you tried it. Maybe you've tried it a bunch of times. You feel like you failed a bunch of times, you got frustrated, and just kind of gave up on it. Well, if that's you, I have a message for you I want to convey here. You see, there's a reason you should meditate that is not really ever communicated very well in my personal experience from all the different teachers I've seen out there. And this is a very practical thing that I want you to understand in terms of your own mental health and why meditation is an important piece of it. So here's the reason. Here's the thing meditation is supposed to do that no one tells you. It's supposed to prove to you that your thoughts are automatic, that no matter what you do, when you sit down, your thoughts aren't yours. You can sit down and try to quiet your mind, and all of a sudden, your thoughts are just going to keep spitting out of your system without you even trying to think. In fact, you're actively trying not to think, and yet the brain just spits out thoughts. Now, why is this valuable? How is this valuable? I want you to think about it like this. Consider that most people don't ever evaluate their thoughts as being true or not. Most people take their thoughts as being completely true, completely personal, and completely accurate, right? And so most people just assume that their thoughts are their own truth, and they take that truth deeply personally. They identify with the thoughts that they think, and they assume that their thoughts are accurate and clear and correct. Now, if you're somebody whose thoughts are really positive, self empowering, and uplifting, and beautiful, and loving, and clear, and inspiring, and make you feel good, that's not really such a problem. But that's not most people. Most people, if you really unpack the way most of us think, it's filled with all kinds of thought loops, judgments, self judgment, self blame, shame, fear, negative emotions, worries, anxieties, ruminations, worrying about the past, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Most people, for most of our mental bandwidth, a huge chunk of it is negative. So you can see how this is a problem. If most of your thinking is negative, and yet your belief about your thoughts is that they're all true, they're all real, and you take your own thoughts personally as though it's the truth about you, that's a problem, right? This is the hugest part of how we re-traumatize ourselves, re-cause ourselves suffering, and really this is a form of self-hypnosis, to be totally frank with you, to be totally truthful with you. And so this is how most people navigate life, not quality controlling, not second guessing, not thinking about their own thinking at all, and taking it all as personal and true, and letting all of that cause more negative emotion to get wired into the brain, because the thoughts that we think more often get more deeply wired in, right? Neurons that wire together fire together, wire together, right? So this becomes more habituated the more we do it, right? Now, the reason meditation is so fucking valuable is because when you sit down on the mat and you try to silence your mind, what's going to happen, this isn't a failure if your brain spit out a bunch of stuff, it's proof. It's proof that your brain runs on its own, that these thoughts, while technically occurring in your own head, aren't conscious or active or intentional or really anything that you mean to be thinking. Your nervous system just spits them out. And this is something that can be so hard to, and actually so radical to deeply understand, that it can take years of repeating this to really deeply grok, to really deeply, fully internalize that our thoughts are automatic, they're not personal, They just kind of happen through us. It's just programming and conditioning that gets spit out from the nervous system out into the conscious mind continually in a stream of thoughts, in a stream of just like how many of your thoughts that you think do you do actively versus just kind of automatically pop up through you, right? So meditation is crucial as a means of proving to yourself to stop taking your own thinking so seriously, to learn how to evaluate your own thinking, to begin to build, and it's like building a muscle. It's very much the same thing in the brain. To build the capacity to take enough space and distance to recognize that your thoughts are happening automatically and to look at them and be like, is that true? Do I agree? Is that what I want to think? Is that really how I feel about it? Is that the whole story, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? This is kind of why CBT comes out of mindfulness. Mindfulness comes out of meditation, right? Meditation is deeply valuable as a means of proof so that you're not taking personally and seriously all the negative shit that is just programming that kind of pops up in your brain. You need to be able to understand the difference so that you can really start to quality control your thinking and evaluate what's true and what isn't for yourself, because the more you buy into your own thinking, the more power it gets and the more it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy. And when it comes to negative thoughts and negative emotions and mental health, that's not really serving you. So I don't know if anyone's ever told you this about meditation. So I just wanted to kind of make this video here and make this point. This is super key. And this is reason number one. Even if you're not woo-woo, if you're not spiritual, if you don't believe in any of that, even if you struggle with it for the whole fucking time you sit, it's valuable as proof. I want to say one more thing about it and then I'll wrap up this video because it's already longer than I've meant for it to be, even though I'm kind of on track here. So the other point I want to make really briefly is I've been meditating for 30 years now. I started meditating in the early 90s. And I've meditated pretty consistently that entire time. I've studied, Buddhist forms of meditation, Hindu forms of meditation, more modern American forms of meditation. I played with all kinds of varieties of it. And even still, after 30 years, for me, I want you to know the first 10 minutes that I'm sitting there generally are just my mind spitting out that junk. I just know now to wait through it. Now, if you want it to get really good and get really blissful and peaceful and clear and silent, it does get there. But you have to just set the conditions for your mind to get there by just sitting and waiting. And it's going to take probably north of 10 minutes, maybe north of 15 minutes, and then you'll feel a shift and your mind will suddenly shift gears and relax into that meditative state. And even just a little bit of time in that state is super healing, super powerful for you. So it's worth it. It's worth waiting 10 minutes for. And also along the way, again, you're getting that proof day in, day out to not take your thinking so seriously. So I hope this is a useful reminder for you, or maybe a little inspiration if you've kind of given up meditation and you're like, why bother? This is why bother. Prove to yourself that you are not all the automatic thoughts that happen through you, that you have choice over your thoughts by giving yourself a little distance from them to evaluate them. Right. Wishing you all the best. Thanks for watching.